Welcome. Let's continue on Next Normal. And first of all, get ready to scale your digital transformation journey with smart content. That's the title of our session. Really pleased to welcome currently two gentlemen, but hopefully another one, Mr. Sandor from Novartis. So currently today here we have Denis Malnichuk from V7. We have Sander Reutenberg from Novartis and Fabrizio Caranzi from Angelini. So a very great panel setup and lineup. And before we deep dive into the conversation, colleague Denis prepared some interesting presentation. So Denis, we are ready for kicking off the stage. Denis, the stage is yours.
Thank you, guys. Really glad to be here for the second time in a row and waiting forward for your comments and ideas on the things I have to share with you. I will click my screen share. Just give me a shout once you start seeing it. And once we are ready, we will be ready to dive in.
We are ready.
Yeah, so I've prepared a small presentation answering the question of how you can get ready in order to scale your digital transformation journey with the smart content. And basically, there's only one way. I'm going to stop in details today, but there are also others that are available. And basically, whenever people are talking about smart content nowadays, they are mostly thinking about things like modular approach, like omni-channel interaction, like personalization, and things like that. But although those things are really high and often far away from whatever you have today, depending on the maturity of the organization you are in, basically there are way easier things that could be done as of today in order to make your work not harder but way smarter. And one of them is the asset management and actually auto tagging the assets in your digital asset management system. This is what we're going to discuss right now. So I will start with the asset management as we know it as of right now. And for most of us, you cannot talk about asset management without having the DAM system in your organization, which is a centralized way of storing different inputs, such as media, like images, audios, videos, things like that, promo materials and different sorts of office documents, as well as medical materials, including results of the studies, clinical trials, polls, and things like that. And oftentimes you also upload your distribution-ready content there as well, being like CLM e-detailers, or let's say emails ready to be shipped into your marketing automation system. So whenever you contribute all of these things into your digital asset management system, you basically expect it to provide just two things back to you, and they are the search capability and filtering, because you'd like to get that content way faster and easier. So whenever we are talking about filtering, it pretty much depends on the metadata that is assigned for different types of assets you provide to the digital asset management system. And usually there are two approaches, one of them being the minimal metadata, where you use just the bare minimum of fields in order to provide some basic overview for the content that you are submitting. The other way is completely opposite, when you add all the needed like custom fields, values, options, and things like that, so that later on you can add additional layers and flavors to the content and use that for filtering. But both of these approaches, they have their own pros and cons. For minimal metadata, it is cleaner UI and a faster asset submission, especially if you are a creative agency trying to provide dozens of assets at once. But having just 3 fields on all the assets that you own actually brings you lower relevancy whenever you are trying to find something. Same thing for the reuse rate. In order to reuse something, you first need to find that, and lower relevancy drives you to poorer results in this realm, in fact. Extensive metadata, on the opposite, provides the clogged user interface for the people, and is way slower in terms of asset submission. However, it does provide a higher relevancy and higher reuse rates whenever you are trying to find something. But both of these things, they are prone to human factor, and we are all people. We can do mistakes and choose different wrong values instead of the correct ones, making portion of the content unfindable in the end. So if we are talking about the search that we expect working from the digital asset management, it oftentimes tricky a bit as well. So let's imagine me trying to find this image in my digital asset management system. As a normal human being, I would characterize it in the following way. So like just writing a man in a green sweater because I'm interested in finding that. However, depending on the metadata setup and the values that are provided in the fields within your digital asset management system, you can have basically two cases. First of them being like this, simply because all the fields are entered with the other values. So not the file name, or description. They're giving you any cross-reference with the man in green sweater, as you see here. And if you take a look at the tags, someone has decided that this image has more relation to gastroenterology and the second marketing cycle of the current year more than to anything else. And this way, I cannot find this file with this search input. The other possible case is also finding way too many assets, simply because someone has put a man tag for every image within your digital asset management where you see a man. And again, first word here, now you have a match. And in this way, you'd have to go through all the assets returned back to you individually in order to find this particular image. And this is a problem, and basically lots of organizations are suffering from it. And as you see here, studies say that it is only around 35% of the content that is actually in use in your digital asset management system. The rest is either unfindable or unusable. These are the numbers for the overall B2B enterprise marketing. But in pharma, I would say that the numbers would really correlate depending on the organization and the maturity level of the processes established there. However, there are ways how you can improve it without taking a deeper dive into modular, omni-channel, or whatever else is out there. So how it could be done? With the help of the auto tagging, of course. And that is basically slightly doing the updates to your digital asset management system and going from the minimal metadata system, not to necessarily the extensive one where you have like 12, 15 fields for every file submission. You can just add one field called tags. Most of the digital asset management do have this field already from the box. But basically, the values provided there would be generated not by the users. It would be auto-tagging doing the magic for you. And by auto-tagging, I mainly mean the combined artificial intelligence, machine learning, and human interaction that will provide the outputs for this field. So how it works on the back end is basically, from the user perspective, it's pretty much the same, because you are still uploading files to your digital asset management system and nothing changes from the user perspective. But your digital asset management system could be powered with the inbound integration point connected to auto tagging service. And the main purpose of this service is basically defining the files and formats that are uploaded into digital asset management system. Whenever you know the type of the file, you can define what machine learning techniques can help you get them tagged. And basically for text, it would be some sort of the text analysis. For JPEG and PNG files, it would be image recognition thing. For audio, you can transcribe them into text and then run them through text analysis. And for video, you can do two streams at once, getting tags from audio transcription as well as getting the visual sequence from to the image recognition as well. As a result, the machine learning, depending on the file type selected, would provide you with a set of tags. And by combining all of those tags together in a single database, you'd now have the additional layer of data for each and every file that you submit. And all of that data would be ready to ship back to your digital asset management to power the thing that we call smart search. So how it is different from the search sequence that you've seen previously is basically whenever you are trying to find the very same image, is in our case, and you pretty much again type the same search request to your digital asset management system. Although you'd have a higher relevancy this time. And although all the metadata fields, they don't contain any cross-reference with the search request this time, you see the file name is given by the camera. The name for the file is just patient profile, whatever. And since description was not the mandatory field and someone left it blank, now in the tags, you have not only the things provided by a human, but also the additional layer of tagging provided by the machine, the AI, and the machine learning mechanisms that are now powering your digital asset management system. And basically, with the notions and senses provided in there, you now have way more cross-reference with the search input. And this drives you to a higher relevancy where you are just getting one result based on your search input. And this is basically just one way how you can make your existing content smarter. And based on this schema, you can basically see that component level auto tagging I've just explained to you is just a small thing within a huge array of things that you can automate with the help of artificial intelligence and machine learning throughout the whole content development process that you see here. So this basically concludes what I've been preparing for you for this small introductory presentation. So if any questions, just give me a shout.
Thanks a lot, Dennis. Maybe we can continue for the rest 17 minutes with the presentation because it's extremely interesting to see how technology can play a role in modular and smart content. But let's deep dive into the conversation and continue with Maurizio and the question, how do we actually define smart content in the whole or transformation process and suite, if you would like to call it so. Maurizio.
Thanks, Dario, for the question, and Dennis, thanks a lot for the very relevant presentation. I told you already in advance when we were preparing for this event that I'm the perfect client for your company, right? Because in Angelini Pharma we are scaling our digital transformation is a 3-year program at the global level, and clearly we're in a different stage of maturity based on the country, based on the specialty, based on the product we're trying to serve. And clearly what we have seen is that content is always the most complex topic to talk about. First of all, because it encompasses different internal stakeholders. We think about content usually about marketeers, digital guys, who is in charge of it, maybe medical, there is a regulatory component, a legal component, there is a privacy component to it. So it's a very complex topic to talk about, and always refers to the different channels. It's very easy to put up a channel. It's very easy to stand up a website. I put it up in a couple of weeks and it's ready. I have my perfect product website, but then if I don't update it regularly with relevant content, it's useless. People come in, visit once, maybe because I send an email to say we have a new website live, and then they don't come back anymore. So I think content is crucial, the king of the king, but smart content is more important, even more so, because in a digital transformation, global can play a role in driving all the different countries, but I think that we need to think about how to put all the stakeholders together to design global content that can be then derived at the local level to make it meaningful. Each country is different. Each physician in the country is different. How can we personalize the content in the right way? Surely using the smart tag technology that Dennis showed before can facilitate this process in adopting global level, therefore reusing as much as content as possible, reduce the investments because we cannot ask each country to afford content creation, content production with internal marketing and medical team if they're lucky, but most of the countries use external medical writers, for example, and also ensure compliance because we have the same message at the global level that is derived in the same way, exactly in the same way at the country level. So for me, smart content is a crucial asset and really helps speeding up the adoption of the digital transformation that sometimes is only seen in the first layer, that are the channels, rather than thinking about what the relevant content could look like.
Thank you a lot, Fabrizio. Dennis, a question for you.
So whenever talking about the smart content, I would define it as a content that works best for the audience that you are preparing it for, be it like HCP, I don't know, doctor, or the patient itself. And also you can work hard and hire the horde of people who would be working on different segments, different messages, different channels and whatever. But that's rather working hard instead of working smart. So whenever we are talking about the smart content, it is also the content that is easy to produce and to maintain, especially if we are interested in updates, like some sort of the events and rollouts for the new campaigns and things like that. Because without it, it's really difficult to call your content smart. Nowadays, you can combine a bit of text and images and push it out of the door really easily with the help of some sort of the CMS system or whatever, but making it work across multiple brands, across multiple regions, across multiple countries and systems and contractors, it is really difficult. And by mastering this overall process will bring you to the smarter content for sure.
Thank you very much, Dennis. In the meantime, Sander also joined. Hi, Sander. Really great that you made.
I have been listening, by the way. It was impossible to get through, but here I am. So
perfect. So then we will start with the next question with you, which is which tools can help us in developing the smart content customer journey? Because we speak a lot about the overall customer journey.
It relates a little bit to the previous answers, right? And I was hearing and listening in on the question, of course, as well. I think we need to think both of the quality and the quantity of smart content. I think with the quality, we need to start considering beyond translation, also the cultural aspects. So I think, having a much better approach to tools around our insights and our ability to profile the audiences is going to be very important, where we can really start building, from segments to profiles to personas, and we need tools to do that in a structural way. That's more like what I would say the quality of the content. We also need to think around, the goal is often moving towards really a personalized approach. The quantity of content that we'll be dealing with, so different types of content, but also different media types, means that things like tagging and taxonomy are critical. So the auto tagging that was shown before is a typical example of a tool that is a really important enabler for the future. And more generally speaking, any tools that will help us reach automation, where obviously artificial intelligence will play an important role, but really trying to apply that into the different aspects of, content design and generation, and then also content management and deployment. I think we need to just be very realistic for humans. Let's say the teams we work with, marketing and medical teams, that's just too much to ask of a person on an ongoing basis. So we need to bring in automation from tagging, but also from content orchestration and personalization.
Fantastic, Sander. Thanks a lot. Fabrizio, let's continue with you.
Oh, I would build on Sander's answer, really to say that for me, what is critical at this stage is the scalability of any tool. So something that allows really to plan, something that is distributed across all channels, all customers, all countries in the same way. So I think that the scalability issue would be something very important to ensure also the affordability of a program. Usually tagging, it's as Dennis was saying at the beginning, is a very lengthy process, manual process most of the times, unless you use exactly and typing problem. You need also people who are a little bit understanding the content itself, the purpose of the content itself to properly tag. So automatic tagging can definitely help, but surely there is an issue on scalability and consistency that I think it needs to take place, and therefore any tool that can help to standardize and ensure compliance, that would be really critical for ensuring that we have a right investment, but also that we can somehow shorten the time frame from ideation to dissemination of content across the value chain.
Thank you, Fabrizio. And Dennis, same question.
So whenever we are talking about the tools for smart content production, out of my head, I will point you at least in 3 directions straight away. First of them being the digital asset management system that I've started with today, because you need to have some sort of decentralized way how you organize all the stuff within the organization, because without it, it would be difficult to pass something from one region to another, from one purpose to another, from brand to a brand, and things like that. The other system is, of course, the authoring solution that you use, because that system has to be really flexible in order to help you leverage whatever is available there in the digital asset management system and producing the content out of it. So the main questions for the authoring tool here would be how easily they allow you to translate the content, how easily they allow you to localize the stuff you get from other regions, and basically whether they empower the process, or each and every time you need to run to an agency asking them to do some sort of the changes. So whether you can do it on your own, even if it's a minor change, is also a question. Of course, like, we are the authoring tool, you know, and you can check our booth for the offerings we have in that direction. And the third system I would point out is basically the approval system that you use, because approval is an essential part of the process, and you can create whatever you'd like from the creative standpoint in using your authoring tool, but unless it is proven by the MLR to go straight out of the door, you have no content. So you need to embed your approval process into the content development and make them work hand in hand towards delivering that content really quick, really fast, and getting through approval as a breed.
Thank you, Dennis. In the meantime, we received a very interesting suggestion and comment from Felipe, which is no automation of tagging without first establishing a common taxonomy for content, campaigns, and web. And from experience, that's not an easy task, right? So actually, I think that we can even take that as a question, right? Not as a comment. Anyone would like to add on that, what Philip mentioned, please?
Yeah, I can. I think it's important to not go straight into the system technology. I think we need to not underestimate the importance of educating our colleagues around why taxonomy and tagging is so important. Although it's not a new principle, I would say in the world of digital and automation, it's become much more critical as an enabler. And so I think starting with the actual concepts and educating people on what we actually mean with taxonomy and what how that is applied in tagging across not just, let's say, the digital channels themselves for analytics purposes, but also from the very get-go when we design content, I think that's where it starts. I see a lot of people go straight towards the available technologies and systems, but then obviously that's a huge leap of faith that you're asking, let's say, a marketing or medical person to take to actually start, really investing all that time into rethinking their whole content approach. So the cultural change, the organizational change, and the capability building is probably something that is relatively underestimated, and we put a lot of energy behind the technology. I think that's where we need to change a little bit.
Definitely. What we see, anyone would like to add something? Dennis, Fabrizio?
Yes, if I can add something on Sandra's comment is replying to Philippe. Hi, Philippe. Has anyone been able to actually define a common taxonomy for example, a brand or a campaign, and keep it consistent and coherent over time for each brand, each campaign, each country, each channel? After 2 years, you have to start almost from scratch. Everything is a cycling. So it's a never-ending process. It's not just a complex task. It's a never-ending process. You have to clean up. A new guy came in Slovakia and he changed the taxonomy. I don't understand the language, so I don't even realize that. And then in analytics, you don't find the email tagged in the right way or the social post right in the tag way, and then you don't see anything. So I think it's a never-ending process for sure.
Yeah, and a small addition here to what Fabrizio just mentioned. Actually, you need to have people responsible within your organization for the consistency of that taxonomy. And usually it is global level, but whoever it is in your organization, you need those people to follow all the updates, changing and notifying all the parties involved. Because whenever something is not working for the creative agency, they're gonna mess up the whole metadata and taxonomy system simply because they need to upload, let's say, 150 images from the latest photo shoot, and they need to do it before the certain deadline that they have. They don't care about the taxonomy and metadata. At this stage, they just need to get that done. But it is organization's responsibility to kind of educate and maintain that taxonomy throughout the value chain and the supply chain that you have.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dennis. Last question. Let's speak about the future. Can AI play a significant role in smart content design and in the whole customer journey? Because, I mean, if you ask me, a couple of years ago, we thought, okay, AI can do everything, right? But now we actually see that AI is just enriching the possible customer journey. But what can and what can't AI? Let's put it in that way. Who would like to go first?
Oh, I can start with that. I thought I've been faster than Sander to unmute myself. No, I think, I mean, the big promise of artificial intelligence do apply here quite a lot. I think there are many companies are working into the next best engagement, right? What to tell people, what to tell people to do in the next thing, call in, do a visit face-to-face, send him an invite, an email, whatsoever. Sure, that's critical. But I think it applies also to content. What's the next best content to talk about, right? I should visit that doctor because it's interesting to the next Pharma Summit. And maybe I should talk about the smart content, for example, right? So also identifying the right content. It's definitely an area where AI can play a role. AI can play a role in analyzing the interest of our content, for sure. We are producing a lot of content, how much it goes to waste and how much is useless. Then we go to the very basic old style KPI of open rate of an email, and nothing is there, right? Why? Because the content was not relevant. So how can AI trigger the data and better understand what was relevant and maybe propose automatically the next email to be sent? But also to the medical legal review process that Dennis mentioned before, right? We are, you know, the people who work in digital customer engagement are always looking into, we need more content from marketing, we need more content from medical. And then the medical legal teams, they just don't change because nobody has told them to change, right? And therefore we get stuck into this bottleneck of too much content to be approved. I don't have time, I don't have resources. I raise my hand, let's pick up and discuss in the next meeting. That's not how it should look like. So AI can definitely help in tagging the right content, also letting you know that 3 months ago you approved the same document. I just changed maybe a label in the end, let it go, right? So for me, these are the 3 areas where AI can surely play a relevant role, helping content to be more relevant.
Thanks a lot, Fabrizio. Dennis, Sander, we are left with 1 minute.
Yeah, I would just quickly, I think for me, I obviously spoke to the automation aspects. I think that's pretty straightforward, that you need AI to make that intelligent. I think in this context, prefer to talk about augmented intelligence because you will need people. So rather than artificial intelligence, I think we need to be realistic that AI is good with behavioral signals. To Fabrizio's point, he was describing some of those, not good with attitudinal and emotional signals. And so I think it's really important that you understand where you want to apply the AI and where you still need people. AI can find the signals, it can see behavioral patterns, and it can automate based on that. What it cannot do at this point in time is really correctly interpret emotions and attitudes. And so we just need to be very purposeful with where we apply AI, and then it can be very valuable, but be careful with the overpromise or expecting too much of what an AI can do in 2021.
Thank you, Sander. Dennis, final words.
I would say that I just have a short word of caution regards the AI. So it won't create your content for you. You still need to be responsible for that. And since like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they do have a really good AI and ML examples nowadays. As an organization, you first need to remember that if you'd like your AI to do something for you tomorrow, today you need to think about the data you can feed to that AI. Because without a lot of data, in order to train the AI or ML to do something with a good relevancy and with a good predictable result, you need to pour a lot of data into it. So start challenging the way how you produce that data. Start challenging the way how you interact with, let's say, target audience and how many data points you collect throughout that communication, so that you establish the robust foundation with data that you can later feed to the AI. And the rest of is pretty much just the technical stuff. So you need to think what data you already have, what data is missing, how you can enrich that data, and later on feed all of that stuff to the AI to get the result that you want to get like today.
Fantastic. Let's continue the discussion in May in Dubrovnik on our live event. So hopefully we meet there, and during some drink we can then find some new conclusions, right, about the content and digital journey. Gentlemen, it was really a pleasure. Take very good care. Wish you a nice weekend, and let's see what's coming next. Take care.
Thank you for the opportunity. Take care.
Bye-bye,
Nice
everyone.
seeing you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.